What's up, people? We here. What's up? What's going on? Wow, this is the very first episode of the Brian Reveal Show, and I have to tell you something. Just give you a little bit of a background. This has been a long way for me, right? It's been several ebbs and flows. It's been more, trials and starts and errors and all different kinds of things that you would have never even thought to get to this point. A lot of hustle, a lot of grind, but I'm here. And I probably would have stopped along the way and said, you know what, I got a decent job. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't what it is, in my world. But something kept fueling me. Something kept saying, you know what, I got to keep going. I got to keep doing what I need to do for me. I got to kind of show up in the space and give back to the people that are responsible for making sure that I come here tonight and I do what I do. And for me, this is about not just giving a perspective, because that doesn't separate me from anyone else. It's all about the love behind, the messaging that I'm putting out there, the intention. It is for a specific purpose. And I would have I actually would have stopped. I would have stopped a long time ago, but something kept pushing me and saying, get your ass out there. Because it's not about you. This is about arriving at a message that people need to hear and being able to be the vessel to facilitate that. It's about a whole lot of things. What's up, everybody? What's up, Frazier? What's up, Lala? I see y'all tuning in. Much respect and much love to you. We're gonna get into some of these comments and these chats and everything. And I love the support, and I really appreciate y'all coming out and having me be I'm not just doing the engineering, but I'm also trying to run this show. So please be patient with me as I sort of navigate through this, and we get to have some really in-depth conversations. Tonight is all about love versus relationships, and I position it that way because I think that there is a whole lot that we don't understand about love. There's a whole lot that we don't really understand about relationships, and when we get to a point where we're ready to just confront both, I really do think that we can probably have much more fruitful, much more healthier relationships. Nothing's ever going to be perfect because we operate within an imperfect vessel. So tonight, this is really about just uncovering those topics, giving all of you a platform to have the conversations that we really need to have. So with that, I'm going to kick this off with something that maybe a couple of you have seen, but we're gonna transition this effectively tonight. All right, so here comes the commercial. Let's get to it.
Damn, that hurt. Change is on the way. Change is on the way. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just don't walk away. Just don't walk away. Stay strong, stay strong. Stay strong, stay strong.
That's how we do it, people. That's how we do it. So let's just jump right into this, y'all. Tonight, as I said, the topic of the night is love versus relationships. And I think that this is a topic for me that I'm, very passionate on speaking about, because what doesn't start with love? If your heart is in the right place, what doesn't really start with love? And how can you navigate throughout life without relationships? We all need to engage people, and we all need to be kind, and we all need to be respectful. But some of these people will piss your ass off, and you got to engage them accordingly. That's what this is about. How do you engage them accordingly, knowing that people are flawed, People have errors. People have different ways of, you know, not really showing up for you the way that you want them to show up for you. Vice versa, because it goes both ways. It really does. One of the things I want to do tonight is kind of start this thing off with what will be typical in this show is trending topics. We're going to start every week off with what's happening, not just in the news, because we need to know about what's happening around us, but in social media, conversations that we're having in our community, regardless of where it is, and then we'll transition into the main topic. So with that tonight, I want to kind of start this thing off with, you know, what's because it all ties in. I'm starting it off with, I got to give the young people some love. I got to give y'all some love. Saweetie and Quavo, like everybody's talking about or has been talking about, okay, you break up with someone, you know, do you take their vehicle back, or do you take back a gift, regardless of how pricey it is, right? Do you take it back? And I think that, you know, a lot of times there's a bitterness that happens when we don't get it back, or we get it back, or whatever. And so a lot of the implications actually came from Saweetie, right? She basically went on a rampage and on her social media, which we're going to get to, right? Because I think that regardless if you're a public person, there's a certain way that you navigate a breakup in a personal relationship that the world doesn't need to really know about, you know? But she goes on to say, and I'm going to paraphrase, that a lot of things that have happened to her in the background, she can't really just kind of take it anymore, right? There's a whole lot of dysfunction. There's a whole lot of betrayal, as she says, and hurt behind the scenes. And when Quavo basically saw it, I don't know if he called her. She could have blocked him. You know how people do when you get into these breakups. I've been there, you know. And then see, here's the thing with me. Like, if it don't work out, your ass is out of here. Like, I blocked and everything like that because, like, you know how I get down. You know, for me, the finished is the finish. You know, and everybody has a breaking point. Everybody has a breaking point. And, you know, I said that to kind of expound on that because the Migos actually dropped a single. They got a new album coming out. First of all, I love the Migos. Incredible group, right? They have an album that's about to drop, and the first single that's out right now, right? Or at least I'm going to say they put out a teaser. And let me just kind of play a little clip of it, you know, so we can kind of, you know, see exactly what's happening with this thing. So give me 1 second, y'all. You know, I got to navigate this whole thing. I'm trying to give you all a great show. And, you know, I got to be the editor. I got to be this. I got to be that. This is a part of what it is, y'all. We're in a COVID environment, and we got to keep it safe, and we got to keep everything, you know, right. So let's get to it. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Okay. Just adding. Play this for you so you can see what's. You know, the thing about it is when you break up with someone, you don't necessarily have, like, it's almost like a vengeful kind of a thing. And I don't even understand why. Like, why does it have to be all about vengeance and all about those things? You know, sometimes you just got to just, like, go back and chill and get yourself together before you do what you do. So let me play a little clip of this and you'll check it out.
Burned out. 12 pulling up, so we burned out. Sweet little bitch that she turned out. Remember that time? That little great little out of the roof man tiles. Remember that time? In the house, open house on the side. I don't like you still tough, you'll get tired. Everybody talking that cancer, nigga get back. Nigga ain't flexing. Nigga on the outside, nigga, yo, bitch just pressing. When I bought a present, I put the big white niggas in the big white necklace. Look at my section. Remember them.
It's crazy. Basically, if you didn't catch the lyrics, it was basically saying that, and I'm going to paraphrase because there was a whole lot of bullshit in there. And at the end of the day, this is about a woman, which I really tried my best to be respectful of, even though sometimes y'all do shit to us. But, you know, basically saying how she wasn't really shit for doing what she did the way that she did it. And It seems like hell hath no fury like a man scorned these days. I think that whole implication had to come from somewhere, but it seems like a whole lot of men are taking that shit on today. Wow. I don't really even know what to say about that. I think that what we're seeing today is just a whole lot of shit being played out that should be left behind the scenes. I think a lot of this shit I don't even really want to know. But it's helpful for us to discuss these things, which we're going to get to. It's helpful for us to discuss these things so we can figure out how not to be, So our kids can look at this and not be the example, but be the lesson. Meaning go in the other direction, because you could either choose and go in either direction in life. And I said that to circle back to probably the main trending topic. Still, I really thought this shit was going to go away, like for real. Because the brother, number one, you would think as many people hate him, that he would have more people ignore him or laugh at him and move on about them, their lives, considering all of the shit that's going on anyway. Weren't we just talking about people storming the Capitol? I don't know. We were just we were just talking about that shit. And now all it takes is one non-factor. He can't be that much of a non-factor. Let's give him credit. The brother got 3 million followers on Facebook. That's just one engine. God knows how many he got everywhere else. But we also got, a whole lot of free time to kind of pay attention to shit, right? A lot of us are probably still, not back to work. And some of the other unfortunate things that have happened during this pandemic. But I got to tell you, it's kind of, I got to say, it is, to me, I just think that the way that it was done made me laugh my motherfucking head. Like I was done. I didn't need to hear anything else. I'm sitting here like, I can't even believe this shit on so many levels, y'all. Now, we've all seen the video. I don't want to play too much of it, but I just want to put it out there just in terms of a frame of a reference so we can understand what we talking about, what we facing, how people are relating to this. We can have a little bit more context. Hold on, let me get this to we gotta really dig into this, because I think after I say this, which is another benefit to this, after I say this, I'm probably gonna stop talking about these people, because it is somewhat fascinating to listen to watch other people's opinions, and y'all are funny as hell, like for real. I had to get on this shit too, and I actually saw this meme. I had to kind of borrow it, quote unquote. And the meme itself was so funny. I don't even know if the meme was funny or the caption that I put on it. Y'all know what it is. I'm not going to give it any more light. But over 7,000 shares. And I'm like, you know what? That shit was funny. Because a lot of people do expect for her to be like a little puppet. Just in terms of her body language, just in terms of a lot of things. She did come off that way. So I don't really know what it is. I can't even really tell you, just like on a deeper perspective. But let's take a look at this, and we'll come back to the conversation. All right, let's see what we got here. It was okay. Let's take a pause right there. I like the fact that the brother was upfront. He didn't give us an hour to tell us what he did. He came out the gate swinging. Say, listen, this is what I did. Within the first minute, this is what I did. I fucked other women. I think my wife knew about it, but because she's very, I'm going to say, docile, because she ain't nothing like a lot of the sisters that I've seen. First of all, the sister the sister, let's just keep it to the sisters that I know. She ain't gonna be sitting out there, and there's nothing wrong with. Let me clarify this. As a grown man, there's nothing the way that this young lady looks. But if you're going to sit in front of 3 million people, in front of your quote unquote mansion that she says she ran away from, she's not going to be sitting there looking the way that she is. I'm not saying she doesn't look good. I'm just saying she doesn't look her best for that kind of embarrassment. And I think that's probably where a lot of people are saying, yo, I mean, is this where we at? And I mean, you could tell there's still a lot of friction there, even though according to them, this happened a year ago. I don't believe that. I think this was probably something that was very staged, because how can you go through this level of ups and downs, knowing how social media reacts to everything, and then you turn right back around and sell a book to us for 50% off? No, it needs to be 100% off, because ain't nobody buying that shit. Your career is done. Your career is done, brother. That's the thing. That's the thing. Your career is over. And if it's not over, it should be over. Because how can you peddle that kind of bullshit to your own people? I think for me and for anybody who's an adult, you got to look at it like it's funny, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Hate to be the one to break it to you, but it's embarrassing. I think that, I don't know. I think the brothers are probably about maybe in his mid-30s. And then I'm not really sure how much, younger the sister is, but I do really think that he's taking very deep psychological persuasions over this young lady. Because she seems, I'm not going to say she's naive, because I don't know her. But what I will say is that I do think that you have people that are very impressionable. And leading with the Bible on everything is exactly how they're able to navigate. Now, I can say that because I know a woman who was very influenced by that, because she was on her way and maybe she was lost, and, she was in the church and she found Jesus, and she found a man that quote unquote God sent her. Well, let me tell you, God sent you some bullshit, because if that was what we up against right now, maybe you need to find a different God, because the God that I think that you are giving this level of submission and honor to is not really putting you in the best light. And I know we got to go through ups and downs, but this is an entirely different level of just shit that I've never seen before. Well, I guess I have seen it in the church. Maybe we need to talk about that shit, because this just seems to be something that is a direct sort of connection to how the church does things. I thought y'all did things in decency and order. Maybe we need to be putting y'all on blast, because if this is the influence that that culture is creating, we got a whole different can of worms we got to talk about today. All right. So with that, people, we're done with our trending topics. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our topics of the day. So I'm seeing all of the love before I take this break. I'm seeing all of the love, and I appreciate that. Like I appreciate y'all being here for me. For this, I'm doing it for you. Doing it for you. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, we back. See, let me tell you something. I can't promise you this in the future, but I can tell you right now, I ain't doing no long commercial breaks. It's going to be to the point. I know I don't like to keep people waiting. I can't DVR through the shit when it's recording live. But what I can tell you is that we're going to keep these short commercial breaks. Keep it short and simple, people. All right. Wow. That was my first official segment of the first season. Happy. What's up, Michael? What's up, Lala? What's up, everybody coming in? I see you, and I appreciate you for coming in tonight. Let's jump right into our topic of the day: love versus relationships. When I thought about this topic, I got to tell you, it was something that I thought was very, again, necessary because of how we engage people again, and how we expect love, how we don't have conversations about what it takes to give love and what that looks like, and about, again, how we need relationships. How should we navigate through our relationships? And we're going to focus on the intimate side of it because we know we have all kinds of love, we have all kinds of relationships with people, but the intimate side of it is, I think, where, as we discussed tonight in Trending Topics with Quavo and with, the brother Derek Johnson and his wife, that there's a broader conversation that needs to be had in terms of how we show up in our relationships. And I'd say for the both of them, I can't say for Quavo. I can't say for Quavo and Sweetie. But what I can say is that we know that the Jacksons dealt with infidelity, right? We know that they showed up, for that, and kind of just gave us an insight of what that's like. But for me, I'd like to kind of dissect this topic by kind of talking about infidelity and what that means and how it shows up in a way that I think a lot of us kind of think it's unexpected because we don't see any signs, or we see the signs and we tend to ignore these signs. But as we know, infidelity, cheating is not something that is new. It's not new to the relationship, and it's not new to that person. There's always a ground that we water for infidelity to give us the excuse, the reasoning, the expectation to cheat. And I think that has to do with unfulfilled desires that we do not get from a person. I think in this particular scenario, everybody was talking about, even though they said what it was, I don't believe them. I don't believe the Jacksons. I think that they kind of knew what was going on because of what I mentioned before. I think that's a very spiritually oppressive relationship. And how can you do what you need to do unless there is a tool that you're using to do it? Remember where I said it was about watering that ground. I think that's what it's about. And let me tell you something. I've cheated before. I'm not coming on here spilling a whole bunch of bullshit about shit that I haven't done before. I have cheated before. And I can't promise you I wouldn't do this shit again. Because there are things about myself that I have not and will not reconcile until I get to the right person. It is what it is. But here's the other thing. I'm not going to get into a relationship again until I reconcile that. That's why I'm saying I don't know, because the relationship that I get in may not necessarily be one that's going to lead me to be married. It could be another situationship is what we call it, because those are kind of relationships. They're pseudo relationships, but they're kind of relationships at the end of the day. This is why I can tell you, I'm the real deal. I'm not ready to tell you I'm not ready to do that shit again. Because I can't get everything from one person. And if you are a Scorpio like me, raise your hand. Yes, Lord. Raise your hand. You already know what it is. Can't nobody have sex as much as a fucking Scorpio. Be banging your damn back out all night. You ready to go to work and I'm still like trying to get it in. So I got to tell you, that is something for me. I don't really feel like I should have to compromise. I'm just saying. Why should I? Why should I compromise? Especially when I'm being clear to you about who I am. And a lot of people will still take that and say, oh, he cheated. Nobody didn't. And I think the people who are very upfront with you, they would probably wouldn't consider it the same thing. It is what it is. I think that I really don't think cheating has a place in a relationship. I don't. But people are people, and we have to expect people to be who they are instead of who we want them to be. And if we love that person, we're going to be able to see that. We have to have a certain quality where we're able to see that. Because I think a lot of times we walk into these relationships blind, expecting everybody to be what we want them to be. Expecting everybody to be something that they're not. Because if you have a person who's a habitual cheater, you think they're going to change for you? I think that's something we got to think about. And I think it's a choice that we make when we get into a relationships, and we know that about a person. We discover that about them. We figure that out when we're in a relationship, but we choose to stay around like this young lady's doing. You think that was the first time she found out about that shit? No, she kept praying for the Lord to deliver him out of it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. God can't deliver you from your mess. That is a personal choice. Because God's, quote unquote, that's a whole different show. God's gift to you is you knowing that it is cheating. If you did not know, that is the absence of God. But the presence of God is to know what you're doing. And the choice is up to you. Some people call that free will. I don't get into that, but I mean, you call it what you want to. You call it what you want to. You know? James says, some people want the truth in their own way. That's very true, brother, because everybody has their own filter. You can't see truth the way that I see truth. You know? A lot of people can see your truth the way that you see truth. And when they try to impose that on you, I think they call that racism and slavery. For hundreds of years, people, and I don't want to get off on a tangent here. I just want to make your point, is that we have to stop imposing what other people consider to be as truth. And you just have to show up in your own. For example, a much more relative topic. Again, we're talking about cheating. If you are with someone, you know, and she tells you that she doesn't condone cheating, it's a deal breaker for her. An absolute deal breaker. She will never take you back after it. But then when it comes to you, you know that you struggle with that. Is it fair to her to say, well, she doesn't understand my truth because I just, you know, I am who I am and I like to have sex and blah, blah, blah. Oh, she'll deal with it. That's my truth. And when she comes up to you and when she slapped the fuck out of you because you did do that and you saw it another way, you can't say it. You can't say your behavior didn't cause it. I'm a very cause and effect kind of a person. So when we think about imposing these truths onto people that we say that we love, that we say that we're in a relationship with, that we say that we want to spend the rest of our lives with, that we say we want to be with, that we say we want to trust, that we say that we honor and respect and we love these people. I don't even know if y'all even say all of that. Y'all just like, okay, we pay bills and we fuck and then we move on and we have kids and that's life. I don't even know if a lot of these relationships are even having these conversations. But we getting into it tonight. We getting into this shit tonight. Moving on from cheating, I think we kind of know what constitutes cheating before we move completely away from it. Right? I think we kind of know what constitutes cheating. That is basically someone else's truth about what it means for them and yours about what it means for you. Right? That's right, Mike. Don't get Ray Rice in that elevator because they will knock your ass out. Some people don't play like that. But when it comes to what drives people to that whole rape rice elevator situation, it's because some people are not able to be self-contained because you will drive a person that you are in a relationship that you say that you love to a point where they have a breaking point and they come out swinging. There's like literally like I would say, but I would say that is a little bit of a self-control issue, but you got to know who you in it with. Before you say, okay, let's do this together, you got to know who you are in this with. Because a lot of people, they have deal breakers. And when you cross that line, you can't say you didn't understand the implications if you knew what the deal breakers are. And that doesn't mean don't ask them. Because you don't know what they are. Brother, you don't know what these people's deal breakers are, so you can't run away from the conversation. It all starts with a conversation. And some people will try to say, from a cheating perspective, oh, well, I didn't know. Oh, we never talked about it. Okay, so now we're getting into character conversations. Let's get into the character conversations, because how do we even how does a person even figure you out if like that's not on display? Whether it's a conversation or something else. You know? All right. That kind of wore me out. I'm going to take a little quick 30-second break, and we'll be back. First of all, before I go, thank you all for the comments. Please continue to keep your comments going. The comments are lit. I need to take a sip of water, and we'll be back in. All right, people, I told you that was going to be quick. Going to be real quick. All right. So when I also think about love and relationships, one of the things that I have to say is transparency is probably the center of having a healthy relationship if you are going to factor in love and really define a relationship, because you can't really define a relationship unless you're both transparent. Now, here's the thing that really fucks everybody up. How transparent should I be? How transparent should I be? Like, should I be transparent enough to let a person know everything about me? Some of y'all don't even give people your real fucking name. I used to, guilty, especially if I know what they're going for. And I used to do that. I don't do that shit no more. Like, I'm legit. But I gotta say, you gotta look at the name component, because that exists. Some people don't really want to give you where they live. I'm not even talking about address. I'm saying city, state, like what part of town. You got people that don't want to give you, what's your real credit score? Do you owe the IRS? Do you have other baby mamas out there? How many kids do you have? Do you have a job? Are you on child support? There's so many things that I think that I think that things like child support and the credit score and all of these things that kind of really define transparency. I think a lot of people get hung up on that. And how much is too much to tell someone? How much is too much to keep from someone? It's so, I gotta say, it's so many variables with that. I struggle with, I used to struggle with transparency. I don't struggle with transparency anymore, because here's the thing. I'm a 40-year-old man. I didn't get this far. I'm not saying an age. I didn't get this far in life by being stupid. I didn't get this far in life by not protecting myself. So I had a level of responsibility for myself that I had to kind of honor. that I have to kind of really respect, that I kind of have to say, you know what, yeah, I think that if I'm going to tell someone everything about me, you got to be the right one. You got to be the one that's worth it. But don't think that you're getting a whole, resume on me, and I'm only getting a first 1 or 2 bullet points about you. No, we need to go all the way in, because getting to a certain point in life, if you're holding something from me, I can see it, I can smell it, I can taste it before you even think about an excuse about why you won't tell me something. So I think that, you're going to hold it against yourself if you're not transparent, because you're also choosing the other person. Do you miss out on that opportunity because you're not transparent? Is the lack of transparency what you think a relationship is about? Because you would want that. It's so interesting to me that a lot of people will say, oh, why didn't you tell me X, Y, and Z? But when you really start to get down to it, they're holding a lot of shit from you too. Because people, I got to tell you, whether you're in a relationship with someone or not, and my ex was like this, you would tell me everything but what you want me to know. And all I got to do is cross-examine your ass real good, and then it comes out. It always comes out. You got to ask the right questions. You got to ask the right questions, because people will keep shit from you. Does that make a relationship not worthy? Does it make it scary to go into? No, it doesn't make it not worth it. Because again, you pick the person, and there's a whole lot of trust that the decision, not what they're doing, the decision that you're making is right. Because you're the one responsible for your actions. Dudley says, at least run a background check. You do everything else online. Well, let me tell you something, brother. A background check is only as good as the information that's on the internet. You may be doing a background check on one name. I don't know where you live at, but Atlanta has a lot of scammers out there. They got their credit card not that, but they got the whole credit card scheme. Like it's like they take a class for it in school. These people are so fucking effective with this stuff. You know how many credit card situations they have out there with people and all of these kind of crazy IDs? I'm just saying, you got to know what to look for because if you're spending, and see, here's the other thing. I think you probably think that background shit online, $29.99, and you found out about everything. That ain't how it works. And you know that shit, man. That background shit, it can only tell you so much. It's not going to tell you if the person is a cheater. It's not going to tell you if they are faithful. It's not going to tell you if they are considerate. It's not going to tell you if they want to have children. It's not going to tell you if they want to get married. It's not going to tell you if they are, trisexual. They want to sleep with all kinds of shit. It's only going to tell you so much, and it's face value. And if you want that level of face value information, and you think that that's it, guess what kind of relationships you're going to end up in. So I think that it's a multi-layered thing, man, and it's not. I think the knowledge of a person kind of fulfills one layer, but your heart, that's a whole different thing that we don't even want to put on the table, because it means we have to go somewhere that we don't know where we're going. We may not be ready to go to, but it takes a whole lot of trust in order to get there. A lot of trust. I'm going to do this. I'm going to open it up. So if anybody wants to come on and join in on the conversation, because I got 2 more topics that I'm going to put out there. And it looks like, I think, can you all see it in the comments? There it is. So I'm going to put it right here on the screen. If you want to come up, get involved in the conversation, you want to get involved and maybe a couple more hot topics. So probably weigh in on something that I've said tonight. The link, click on the link and join a part and be a part of the conversation. I will be doing this every single week, by the way, from, I don't know if it's going to be a whole hour because sometimes I could be tired as hell. But I'm gonna try for a whole hour, y'all. Like every Wednesday night. I got 9 more episodes. So I'm gonna try to make that happen consistently. But I got to tell you, it will be a regular occurrence every Wednesday night, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. We're gonna talk about the shit that we really want to talk about, the shit that matters to grown people. But just in case, I did put a link up there. If you want to join, click that link, be a part of the conversation. I don't know if you want to cam up. I'm not going to force you to cam up. Like I'm not going to force you to do that today. But if you just want to come up, weigh in, give your opinion, feel free to do so. The link's right there in the chat. It's on the screen. We got 2 more topics before I let you guys go tonight. So with that, I'm gonna take one more break, and we'll be back in just a second. All right. We're back. And talking about transparency, talking about one of the things that I was saying before we took a break, putting your heart out there. That is particularly tough for men. I think vulnerability is probably one of the things that I used to struggle with. It's definitely not something that I think I was able to get to a point where I was able to arrive. I was really able to arrive at just kind of navigating a conversation without some, my own struggles, my own, I would say inefficiencies, and being able to show up in the right way sometimes in my relationship, because I was still the young man who was all over the place and making decisions that were not mature, making decisions that were not productive to my household, my family. I was just, you know how sometimes young people can be. But you get to a point where I think that as a man, you get to determine what that means for you. You consider society's perspective, but that's society's. That ain't got shit to do with you. And I think when you arrive at that particular point as a man, you begin to navigate the conversation of vulnerability a lot more effectively. You get to navigate it a whole lot more wholeheartedly. Like, it's on you. Your definition is on you. As long as it's not like bringing people to like pieces and shit like that, what's wrong with it? I don't really think that's something that people should struggle with, particularly men. Women certainly love to see a vulnerable man. That's what it's about for them. That's what they prefer. Who wants anyone who is very closed off and self-serving? Nobody really wants that from a man, because we struggle with that. I mean, I'm saying men because as a man, I can have this conversation. But I don't really think this is something that I think that when it comes to the struggle of that, it is a cultural thing, particularly in our community. And why do we struggle with that? Why do we feel like it has to be a struggle, which leads to cheating, which leads to not really understanding how to love yourself and then everyone else, and then whoever you're with in a relationship with? because we don't get to the bottom of it. It ain't happening. It's not a part of the equation. It's not a part of self-acceptance. It's not a part of honor. We let all of that shit go. And I got to tell you, getting to that point, and you start to kind of get that little tear, and you sort of, no man, fuck that, yeah, fuck that. Yeah, I went through that shit, and it was painful, but I got through it. I got through it, and it meant a lot to me to get through it. Get through it. Get to it to get through. Meant a lot. Meant a lot. I have to say that it improved my relationships overall. And it allowed me to get to a point where I could lay it on the table, or people who have gone through it can lay it on the table and say, in order for me to be a better man to you, that I know how to be, that not that you can dictate that for me. That's not a part of the question. That's not a part of the equation. This is about what I feel it should be. I was a better man because of it. I needed to be a better man because of it. I'm just saying. I think that's probably one of the things that, I think that's probably one of the things that we really need to talk about more. And that's right, Andrew. You got to put it on the table. You got to put your heart on the table. Because if you're not doing that, it's going to happen to you. Life has a way of pushing it on the table. And life is no joke. Life will, not only will life put that heart on the table, but it's going to come with knives and bullets and hammers and jackhammers. And it's going to rip it open until you get to whatever the bottom of it is. That's how it works. And it works for us that way as men because we are so stubborn to get to that point. We're stubborn. Very stubborn. And don't have to be, which is the question, which is really the question of why. Why should we be? And I think the thing about it is, and see, here's what I thought. I thought you had to be sensitive in order to be vulnerable. I thought you had to really be sensitive, but I'm really not a sensitive. Okay, sometimes I can be, sometimes I can be, but sentimental and sensitive are two totally different things. I'm sensitive if I hurt your feelings and say, okay, I apologize. My bad. I know I can say some slick shit. And that vulnerability shit is out the motherfucking window. But at the end of the day, I'm on a very practical sense on what it means to show up in an intimate space in our relationships, to be vulnerable. That's the shit we got to pay attention to. That's the shit we got to pay attention to. And Dudley says, true, but sometimes you're just a nugget to determine if you cut and run from the start. Cut and run from the start, I think just a nugget away. To respond to that, brother, what I will say is that to kind of circle back to that, because I think I can tie in both ends, being transparent and being vulnerable, is that whoever you're with are picking these people. And whatever energy you're drawing to you, because, I kind of walk around with a sense of purpose. People who are not into that, he in the purpose, he always talking about anything. People who not into that, they ain't checking for that shit. They not into that shit. They don't want to be around that shit. They go in the other direction, which is exactly what you want them to do. And if they have to come around you or deal with you in any way, they have to rise to the occasion of purpose, which is what the energy that you're putting out there. So I think that as we navigate this whole thing as men, as people, as women, and we talk about what it really means to I'm taking this back to what it means to be vulnerable. Like if we take it back to that space, one of the things I can tell you is that it all is up to you. Whatever you want that to look like, if it's not working out for you, then try something else. Try something else. But what do I try? Something else? You got a whole lot of shit you can try. You know, I think a lot of times for me, I don't really even ask people. I pay attention to people. I pay attention. Because even if I just ask you out of humor and you just happen to tell me what your definition is, it's a layer. Because I can't see every facet of who you are, because the energy that you give me is not the same energy you're going to give to your spouse. It's not the same energy you're going to give to a potential partner or someone that you're with or a significant other. I have to pay attention to how you express that so I can see the possibility exists. And I find my own way. That's how we get to it. That's how we get to the bottom of it. Well, I really should have left a lot more time for this topic because I put it on social media today and I hate it. I hate it. I hate this topic. When you are dating someone and your initial engagement with them is really all about getting to know them. And one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what are you looking for? Because I don't like to waste my time. I don't like to waste my time at all. And you know what really gets me is when people say, oh, I just go with the flow. I think that's an appropriate response for a 25-year-old. You go with the flow because you don't really even have an indication of what life is like. Your frontal lobe is not even developed yet. But to say that you are going with the flow at 30 or over 30, don't tell anybody else that shit. At least a stable person. Because if that's who you want to meet, that's what, because everybody has a qualification. They want to meet a guy who has this and that. And okay, I think that's fair. I think if your preference is to meet someone who's established and stable, you knock yourself out because you should be able to, if that's what your preference is. But what does it have to do with how people respond back to your preference? They ain't got shit to do with it. I don't give a fuck about what you like. How do you show up to me? You know what determines that question? It's how you answer the question, what are you looking for? And if you're going with the flow and you can't articulate, you can't describe, you can't even do sign language about the shit that you're looking for. And I don't say that to be offensive. You'll know how I get down in terms of my humor and how I say and phrase things. But you can't even say the shit in a different language. But you want me to help. Let's just go and walk down the street and just kind of just like lackadaisical with this shit and just figure it out together. Because you don't know. You can't answer the question. You can't articulate the question. But I'm supposed to be around to maybe somehow hope that what you're looking for shows up. Over 30. I think sometimes we are so conditioned to some of these responses and questions that we have. Sometimes we're so conditioned to just say shit without even understanding the implications of what you're putting out there, of what you're saying to another grown person. And if all you want to do is fuck with people who don't have their shit together, knock yourself out because that's the shit y'all say. Just admit it, because that's what we hear when you say that. You don't have your shit together. And you want to come lay that on my doorstep like I got a whole different account for motherfuckers like you. Let me go and waste my money. Let me go and waste my time. Oh, you know what? 10 years later, because we just like going with the flow, yeah, I wanted kids, but I decided to just go in a whimsical way and just kind of let you ruin all of that shit for me. Man, fuck that. If y'all don't get y'all asses out here with that bullshit, I'm telling you, please stop saying that to people. Because if I'm gonna tie all of this in, if we're talking about vulnerability, if we're talking about what it means to be transparent with people, if we're talking about what it means to understand how I can't put myself in a predicament where I'm being cheated on, you got to have a vision for your life. You got to be able to articulate that. You got to be able to say that in a way where the person understands it in clarity. And if you don't know, don't waste your time. You're already a whole person. You're getting with another whole person, regardless of dysfunction and chaos and all of that. You're still getting with them, and you're aligning yourself with that. So I'm gonna say that to close out. Be whole. Be whole. Because people can see if you're not. They may not be able to articulate it. They may not be able to understand it. But your experience will take them through that. And how you show up, that's going to be how that relationship navigates and manifests in your life and also in theirs. This is my first episode, y'all. I got to tell you. Very excited. I can't wait to see where this goes. I got a lot of eyes on this. So to powers that be, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity for working with me. Shout out to Sasha, which is my counterpart, who's really helped me layer this whole thing from the production, from everything. She is a gift. She's a gem. I appreciate you, young lady. I'm happy and excited to be able to work with you on everything that we're about to accomplish. Y'all have a good night and have one for me.